Good morning, Tuesday, January 9th, 5:45 a.m. I feel like absolute garbage. I have an awful migraine this morning. It hurts to have my eyes open. The light hurts. This is going to be a terrible day. I knew last night I could feel it coming on before I was going to bed. So I was expecting it. I slept like crap. I've been up since about 4:30. So today's going to be a grind at work. I know it. Anyhow, I thought of something I wanted to talk about. Oftentimes, I find people asking me how I stay thin, or they make comments, if dessert is being offered up and I turn it down, they'll say something like, "Oh, you can afford to eat it," or something like that. So I'm going to talk about it because it's not by accident. The simplest way to put it, and this is no great revelation for me, is diet and exercise. I mean, it's fairly simple. Diet and exercise. Now look, I'm no expert on this. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a trainer, none of that. I just know what works for me. I read a lot about this. I watch a lot of videos about this, and I figure out what's best for me. I can't tell somebody, and I've had people ask me like, what can I do? What do you do? Whatever. And that's what I always tell people is, I can only tell you what I do. You have to figure it out for yourself because everybody reacts differently to different things. That's why when people say like, "Oh, you need to try this diet, try that diet," I don't know. I don't really buy into that, because just because one thing works for one person doesn't mean another person's body is going to react the same way. It's a lot of trial and error. But there are some basic things you can do that I do. I shouldn't say the basic things that you can do. I'm not telling anybody what to do. Do whatever you want. Just people ask me how I'm thin, so I'm just going to go through what I do. For context, I'm 5'9", usually somewhere between like 145, 150. Depending on what I'm focusing on, I've gone up as high as 170. And if I'm running a lot, and that's my focus, I tend to drop down probably 135, 140, around there. So when I say thin, I don't mean like I'm skin and bones. I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Okay, the number one thing that I've done is cut out processed foods and refined sugars. Yes, I still eat some here and there, but on the whole, I got rid of that stuff. That's the first thing. Number two, I try to eat just whole foods, meat, vegetables, fruit. The other thing too is I do intermittent fasting, which has been great for me, like as far as how I get through my day, how I feel overall, energy wise. But yeah, let me run through a typical day for me. I start my day off, I wake up probably 5:15-ish on an average day. And coffee, black coffee, no cream, no sugar, just black coffee and water. And that's it. Like I said, I do intermittent fasting. So I typically eat my last meal of the day at 8 o'clock at night is what I aim for. Sometimes I go a little over and sometimes it's earlier. And typically I do a 14 to 16 hour fast. So I usually won't eat. My first meal of the day will be at lunchtime, at noontime-ish. So usually it's 11:30, anywhere between 11:30 and 1. So that's why I say the fast is usually 14 to 16 hours. As long as I'm within that window, I'm happy. I'm not super strict about it being 16 hours, as typical intermittent fast is. So then at lunchtime, my first meal, I try to eat some kind of protein for my first meal. So whatever it is, just meat and vegetables. Sometimes it's just meat. And then if I'm still hungry, I'll have a piece of fruit, maybe a banana or orange or something along those lines. But typically just protein and some kind of vegetable or whatever. Now, if I'm in a rush and I haven't prepared anything, when I'm getting ready for work in the morning, what I'll do is just throw together some oatmeal and blueberries. Plain Quaker Oats oatmeal. I'll do a cup of that and some blueberries. So then after that, what I do is if I feel hungry, again, I'll usually have fruit on hand or a jar of nuts, and I'll just snack on some nuts here and there, and that will get me through until I get home for my next meal. So then I get home and same thing, rinse and repeat. Meat and vegetables. And that's it. Sometimes I'll count calories and macros and all that stuff, but typically I just eat until I'm full and then I stop. As soon as I start getting full, I stop eating. After dinner, for dessert, if you want to call it that, I'll either do a smoothie of some sort, which I sort of have to be careful with because then with smoothies, you start getting into sugar content. Or I'll have a bowl of oatmeal with blueberries for dessert, later, closer to 8 o'clock, before my cutoff for starting my fast. Now, along with all that, I'm drinking water all day. I try to get like a half gallon at minimum of water per day. It's very helpful for me, especially in the morning. If I start feeling like I'm a little bit hungry, just drink a bunch of water and it typically goes away. Do I go off the rails sometimes? Yes, of course. I do go off the rails, and sometimes I do it in very epic fashion. Typically, I give myself a day, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, to just like snack a little bit here and there. But once in a while, like over the holidays, yeah, you put a pie in front of me or cheesecake or something like that, I'm gonna smash that thing. Yeah, I just don't make it an everyday thing, you know. I indulge and then reset my brain and go, all right, get back on track, and here we go. One of the biggest things I found that's helpful for staying on track is just don't buy that stuff. I just don't buy it. I don't have it in the house, because if it's here, then I'm gonna eat it. So it's best for me to just not have it around. So that's what I eat. That's my diet, so to speak. I don't like to call it a diet because it's not really a diet. It's just how I eat. It's my way of life. And as far as exercise, again, I keep it simple. For me, I feel like as long as I'm moving and doing something, it's gonna be good. Right now, I've just been doing a lot of push-ups, a lot of pull-ups, sit-ups, squats, just air squats, a lot of all body weight stuff, and then and some kettlebells, and that's pretty much how I do it. So yeah, it's not an accident, like I said before. Is there some genetics involved? Sure, of course there is. So next time you want to ask me, how do you stay so thin? There you go. I work at it. It's not always easy, and you know, sometimes it's a struggle when I get cravings, and sometimes I just have to let myself, you know, give in to the cravings. But like I said, just get right back on track. You know, I hear like, oh, I just wanna enjoy my life. I don't want to be thinking about, you know, eating all this healthy food. I just want it to taste good and whatever. And sure, yeah, that's great. But I look at it from a different perspective. I want to enjoy my life when I'm old, and I'm pretty sure this is just my thoughts. But I'm pretty sure all this processed garbage is a major contributing factor into poor quality of life as we get older. I just don't want to be on all kinds of medications, and so if that's the trade-off, I have to eat healthy food to try and avoid that stuff as much as possible as I get older. Then that's what I'm going to do. All right, that's that for today. Again, please don't do anything that I do. Don't take anything that I said as advice for what you should do. I'm just some dopey guy on YouTube with 41 subscribers that gets a handful of views on every video, talking about my life and what works for me. All right. So don't do what I do. Figure out what works for yourself and go from there. And you probably should consult with a doctor or a dietitian or something along those lines. Don't listen to me. Okay, again, please. Okay, so I'm gonna go struggle through the rest of the day, and yeah, have a great day. Okay, bye-bye.
Bonus video.